Welcome to Dorks on Sports, a podcast about four dorks talking about sports. My name is Daniel. Joining me today is Curtis Eastwood, who just binged the entire season of Only Murders in the Building this week, so we can talk about it at the end of the episode today. How are you doing, Curtis?
I am doing great. I am
sound
still
like
on the
really
Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
I veered off a couple days ago, doing a little bowling, had some nachos and some hot wings, but I'm back on it, and I'm feeling lubricated.
Good. We're glad you're feeling lubricated. We also have Alana over here. How are you doing, Alana?
Doing well. How are you, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm here. It's been a rough week for Seattle sports, but otherwise, I'm
very true. Very true.
Yeah,
that's what we're here to talk about.
And then we got Millie, and
hopefully
that's and the other dorks listening to us.
Mm-hmm.
We have Millie, and hopefully it wasn't a hard sports week for you. How's your fantasy team going over there?
I'm
very invested in this.
One win, one loss, and the other team doesn't exist anymore. So, it was a split. Okay. I'm still on top in my dynasty league. So that now has all of my focus, hopes, and dreams.
What's the record so far?
Oh, wait, how many games have we played?
6.
6.
I think I'm 5-1.
Oh, you're doing good.
Yeah.
You're probably
I might be 4-2. I should double check
that.
But I'm on top, and that's the most important thing.
Congratulations.
So
the Seahawks are not. And let's get into that. So going into this game against Pittsburgh, the big storyline was Geno Smith taking over for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson missing his first start in 10 years, his entire career. The Seahawks looking to get back on track, have no identity on defense. Offense can be hit and miss. They come into Pittsburgh. They play a gritty game. Geno plays enough to take it to overtime. Unfortunately, he loses that fumble at the end, and then the Steelers take it. The defense looked scrappy at times, but otherwise, like the rotting corpse of Ben Roethlisberger was able to throw on him, and that was really hard to watch. But Millie, as our resident positive expert here, what were the good things that came out of this game?
I think the good things really were on the defense. I felt like I saw a major improvement. I was happy to see Jamal Adams involved in ways that worked. Not on every play. I do, of course, read 12th Life by our own Curtis Eastwood. And he reminds me of all the things I've already forgotten about that didn't go well. But
is that your prep coming onto the podcast?
Very happy with how the defense played. They were making things happen. There was good coverage. There was that crazy fumble. At least one interception, right? Am I recalling? No.
There was a potential interception that bounced off the face mask of number 33. Jamal.
All right. See, I just like to remember it better than it was. But we did get a takeaway with that crazy fumble with Ben being, oh, no, I was totally throwing it.
No, yes.
That was awesome. Yeah. That was the best challenge ever. Like, no, dude, not even.
I love Pete Carroll's face in that, which was just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God. Yeah, those refs, they were doing everything they could to give that game to Pittsburgh. I'm sorry.
They was giving us a vintage Seattle-Pittsburgh game.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Matt Hasselbeck should have been inducted into the Seahawks Ring of Honor at that game.
Yes.
Yeah. I have to say,
in front of those terrible towels.
Those terrible towels. I really liked the play of Trey Brown.
Yes.
I want to see more of him. I think he absolutely deserves an opportunity to start this next week. I thought he played phenomenal. That stop that he had, that was unreal. I mean, he was like out-muscled and outweighed, and somehow he just like dug in and
he turned that guy over. It
He did.
was like impressive.
Right.
He came in like a linebacker and finished that dude.
There was another play where he closed off a route that was
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
veteran instincts. I've rarely see that in a rookie cornerback. I thought he looked really good, and I want to see a lot more of him. That's the exact kind of cornerback play Seattle needs. Fortunately, that's not the only thing that they need to fix on the defense. Alana, we got the good from Millie. Tell it, what was the bad from this game?
The bad was the first half in a lot of ways. It's just like nothing doing. We were trying to run the ball a little bit, and then we were trying to treat Gino as if he were Russ, and go for the big play action pass when we hadn't really established it, and put him in a situation where he had to escape to make a play. And that's not who Gino is. Gino is, as we saw in the second half, someone who, with a strong run game, can throw it 20 yards down the field to a tight end, and should throw it 20 yards down the field to tight ends.
Those tight ends were all over the place.
But they weren't like, they didn't do much. Unfortunately, there was that 41-yard catch from Everett, and then there was the touchdown from Disley right after that. Yeah, and it was like, just more of that, please. Run the ball, throw to the tight ends. I get that DK is a fast tight end effectively in terms of how he's built. He's a big target. He's as easy to hit. He did all right. He had that stupid play at the end of the game. Get out of bounds, dude. But really, I fundamentally do not understand why we are not seeing 5 to 10 targets between the tight ends per game. At times, it feels like there are 2 apiece at most. And so, let's take advantage of that. Let's take advantage of those players and how good they are. I continue to not be dismayed by this team. Fun to watch. These games are fun. I like seeing the new contributors contributing. And if we're talking about the bad, Daryl Taylor, that whole situation, the 10-minute break in the middle of the game, seeing what happened was really hard.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that all news coming out of it is that he's fine.
Yeah. Even Pete Carroll says he has a chance to play on Monday. That's right. Pete Carroll's optimism. He's not going to play on Sunday, but the fact that we can even talk about him playing on Sunday is a big deal.
Exactly.
He was able to leave with the team on the plane. That's just all of that. It was really hard to watch. That's the kind of thing about football that I wrestle with as a fan is the danger in injuries like that, and seeing that, especially when it takes I don't know, how long was he on the field? It felt like 15 minutes.
It was about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. They came back from a commercial break 3 times. That third time he was still on the field. I was thinking this is horrible news.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm really happy he really escaped with that one. So good for him. Curtis, I think that segues into the ugly. That was an ugly part of that game. What else did you see that was ugly?
Ugly. Well, it's funny. I'm listening to Alana talk about her obsession with tight ends, and my obsession is defensive tackles.
Mm-hmm.
I hate watching my defense getting run right up the gut. It's the most violating thing for me as a sports fan of my favorite team. I just feel like the weakness, there's so much weakness on that defense. There's weakness at defensive coordinator, there's weakness at scheme. And that's an exhausted issue, but I just feel like, I wish they were more stout up front. I was watching, the Steeler front four just wreck Seattle at times. I mean, Cameron Hayward just came crashing in from inside, and it was just and TJ Watt was just an animal. And I don't even, I mean, there was Gino coughing that ball up at the end. He probably should have been running with better ball security, but at the same time, I mean, Watt's an incredible
That was a huge play by TJ.
The long arms and came in there and punched it out. But I don't know. I'm just jealous when I see other teams with, that are strong at the line of scrimmage and strong at the line of scrimmage on defense. That's what, I mean, everybody talks about the LOB and they talk about Sherman and they talk about Cam and Earl. And I get that, but man, it was like Red Bryant. It was Brandon Mebane. It was, it was all those guys up front rotating in, and Carroll has just gotten away from it. So yeah, it was great to see better improvement with the defense. And it was great to see, Jamal at least playing at the line of scrimmage, but the truth be known, I mean, that was against geriatric Big Ben, who can't throw downfield anymore. Right. I mean, he wasn't throwing downfield. He was just taking every single little quick dump off he could. And people were still completing passes and gaining yards, and they were just trickling. I was like death by 1,000 paper cuts, And so I just, to me, I got enjoyment watching Gino looking competent for the most part. Couple bad looking throws here and there when he was scrambling to avoid pressure, but some nice looking throws. It was fun to watch Alex Collins run like that, and Travis Homer run really strong too. And it was
and DJ Dallas having some fun big plays.
Yeah, the return game was great. The return game was great.
I was going to win it in the end. I really, I thought it was going to be a classic. Well, this is just going to be gritty. Pete Carroll, Seattle Seahawks. When we think they're out, they come back and they scrap and claw, and it's a testament, I think, to Pete and the way he cultivates that culture and gets those guys believing. I mean, that's clearly his strength as a coach. And if
we just need to fire Ken Norton.
Sure. I do want to say too, though, that for all my positivity and all of the great things I said last week about Gino, and people seem to have just sort of forgiven the end of the game, and that's the thing I'm actually still stuck on, because you got to protect the ball. We're in overtime. I don't know what was he just lost it on that play, and then he lost it on that play. And I was very disappointed in how this game ended, but I felt like everyone was like, well, he tried. I'm like, no, that's no.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I liked. I liked seeing an injured Russell Wilson, in his
street coin toss.
Yeah, I mean, he was super involved in that game, running up to Swain and telling him to spike the ball because the clock is running down. I like that. Even as corny as it is, I like seeing him go through his game day prep still on the field, talking to his imaginary huddle and going through, all his mental warmups. I love that. The dude is dialed in, and I think he clearly loves that team.
That was like, is he trying to stand up the new quarterback by going out there for the coin toss? And she was like, I was like, no, it's because he's a fucking weirdo who's just
because he's a weirdo.
Yeah, he's just there.
I love him. I love how weird he is.
Yeah.
Moving on, putting that in the past, and then moving on to the next game. So we're back home. Jameis Winston and the Saints are coming to town. Winston is a very hot and cold quarterback, but this is the kind of defense that can make him look good, and I'm a little bit scared. I'm not quite sure what to think about our offense going up against this team, but I have a feeling Winston is maybe going to have a big game, because we're going to give him like those soft looks in the zone where, it's easy completions for 18 yards. And he's got a big arm. I don't feel good about this game. Millie, give me some hope.
I am so torn. I almost wanted to ask you to let me go last because I don't know what I want here, because I am such a believer in the magic of the Seahawks in prime time. And then we dropped 2 primetime games in a row. And, granted, but it's Russell. And so that's part of that primetime magic, but it's Monday night, it's at home. Like we have such a great track record. I'm so torn. Is it Russell? Is Russell the magic? Or is it, prime time at home with the 12s that is the magic? Like, what do I really believe in my heart of hearts? And I want to believe the Seahawks can win this one, but I listen to what everyone's saying and I'm not sure. And so what I do when that happens is I go to the odds makers, to be honest with you, to see where they're landing and who's taking the spread and who's not and what that looks like. That's usually where I go. And this one is all over the map because both teams have these weird trends, which are other things I look at to help me make a decision when I can't make a decision. And, the Seahawks pretty much have always, even when they've lost, they covered the spread. So there's that. But then the average number of points that they're scoring is more than what the Saints have been giving up. So all these little indicators that help one choose just aren't there. But I feel like a dick picking against him on a Monday night.
Yeah. At home.
I am super torn. I'm gonna pull a Dan here and say that my head says the Saints win. My heart says the Seahawks win.
Yeah, by what's the score? By how much?
Oh, come on, man. I think it is a 4-point game.
All right.
It's that.
I'm not going to elaborate on that. Just a 4-point game.
I'll come up with a number when I write down everything, and I'll tell you what it ends up being.
All right.
In this episode?
Yeah. Or are we waiting for next episode?
I'm just going to flip a coin over to the side while you all tell me what your projections are this week for the board.
Alana, where's the wind blowing in this game?
I think the main thing for me is that I look at this calendar, I look at the schedule, and I look at how we've done in each game. And we're not playing schmoes. Tennessee just beat Buffalo in a wonderful game last night.
Yeah.
Like that was fantastic. Minnesota's playing well. San Francisco.
Derrick Henry is playing out of his mind.
Yeah. The Rams are 5-1, and the Steelers, they've got some fight in them. The Colts have some fight in them. So, in every game we've been in it, and in most games we've led at various parts of the game. And so, if not all, but the Steelers game, unless I can't remember if we led that game. So I think it's going to be another weird game. At the Seahawks, I think on the Ringer they say the Seahawks never play a normal game.
They don't. They always play the weirdest game of the week.
Right. And last night or Sunday night, that was true of that game, especially with the way that the fourth quarter ended. So I think it's going to be a weird game. I think that their turnover fairy is going to come and snuggle in with Jameis Winston and make a home in his heart. And I think we're going to see a couple of interceptions. I think that we might also see a fumble. I am going to just believe that Darrell Taylor's going to play out of his mind. I'm choosing to believe that.
I love it.
And we'll strip sack Jameis Winston. And I think as a result, it's going to be not that close. And the magic of the 12s will carry us over the Saints and shock a lot of people. I think it's going to be 31-17.
Curtis, what do you have to say about that?
This game's not going to be close. The New Orleans Saints are better at the line of scrimmage on offense and defense than not only the Seattle Seahawks, they're better at the line of scrimmage on offense and defense than the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got a significantly better quarterback in Jameis Winston than Ben Roethlisberger. Shocking to the ears of many, but this is true at this stage in their careers. They got a quarterback that can throw a deep ball as good as anybody in the league. And I know he's thrown a lot of interceptions in the past, this year his efficiency numbers have been pretty strong. They've also got a superior running game and running back with Kamara. I think this is going to be an ugly game for Seattle. I think Jameis is going to throw for a lot of yards on this team. And once these chunk plays start happening, then Kamara's game takes over, and I just see like a 35-17 sort of score.
Wow. Oh, so the opposite way.
Yeah, the Saints.
Yeah,
Saints,
yeah, you're going for the Saints.
Saints. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big game for Jameis, and I think that we've got an injured Alex Collins. Penny's coming back. Do we all feel confident about that? I don't think so. I think the Saints are going to take shots downfield that Seattle's not going to be able to stack up against.
Well, this is what I think. Anybody can win in the NFL. Urban Meyer and the Jaguars just got their first win. 20 consecutive losses. They broke their streak. I believe the Seahawks can get back on track too. It's at home. It's in prime time. The 12s are going to be fired up. I think this team does not have a quit in it. You know, if there was ever a time where this team can stop believing, it would be now. But this team hasn't stopped believing, and they didn't stop believing, you know, even into overtime last week. I think this team is rallying around each other. I think they're holding each other accountable. I think the next man up mentality is true, especially for this team. And I think they're going to gut it out. I also think that the Saints are more talented. You know, Sean Payton is a great coach. Yeah. Jameis Winston is, you know, a quarterback who could be really, really scary, especially when he's on point. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be the Seahawks. There's going to be a gut check. Gino's going to have to lead one last field goal down the field. I think it's going to be Seahawks 23, Saints 20, and the 12s are going to lose their minds.
I love it.
Curtis,
it's great.
I've been wrong before.
Curtis, did you say 35-17?
35-17, New Orleans over Seattle.
All right. I've listened to your arguments and I've considered them. And I've picked my numbers, which is 23-19.
19.
Ooh, that's an odd one.
Right?
That's a score you can't get in cribbage.
Well, Seattle plays weird games.
Seattle plays weird games.
There's
going to be a safety in there somewhere.
There was a, what did they call it? An origami score. Scoregami, where we got a score that had never existed before this past Sunday. So why not? I'm going 23-19. Screw it. It's a Monday. Seahawks win.
I like it. I like it. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
So we have another professional team who made its debut. Just we got through 1 week of games, and then they're going to be coming back home. We have the Seattle Kraken, who've been really exciting to watch. Like, this has been a really fun team. They've only won one game, but even in their losses, I've been having yesterday when they got clobbered 6-2. That was a hard one to watch, but otherwise, talk about another team that just gritty and comes in with the gut checks. And, you know, they opened the season with a brutal 5-game road on the road before they even come back home. I mean, that's hard for any team, and especially an expansion team that's never played with each other. I think what they've been doing has been really great, considering they haven't been able to practice that much because they've been traveling. But I know, Curtis, what have you seen? You know, you're new to hockey.
I'm new to hockey. I've seen the first game.
Are you having fun?
I'm having fun. I'm having fun following them at a distance. I've not watched a game beyond the first one, mainly due to all my parental duties and stuff. And
Boo.
I know. But I've been following, and I was excited when they got their first win, and saw that on the internets, and
the very next day they went to overtime. That was kind of fun.
Yeah,
they had their first fight.
Yeah.
A lot of firsts this week for the Seattle Kraken, to be expected. But yeah, I'm excited. I know, there's a lot that has to be cleaned up with this team, and I think that can be forgiven, considering they haven't played together before. The shooting needs to be better. On defense, they give up some dumb plays on miscommunication. I think that's okay. Grubauer got his ass kicked as a goalie yesterday, but he was also, before he was pulled, he either had the most minutes on ice or the second most minutes on ice of any goaltender in the NHL up to that point in the season. And that's hard. I think he was probably gassed, and it was good that the Kraken started somebody else today, get a good look at, but also give Grubauer some time off.
Yeah, I thought they were going to split time between the two goalies.
And I think that was the plan. And then maybe they scrapped it because the Kraken did come out so competitive, and Haskell thought this might be a good chance to steal some wins.
Grubauer in those first two games was just so impressive.
He was very impressive.
Give him all that time. I mean, that overtime game, that was sick. I don't know enough about hockey yet, but I know enough to see that the goalie was just magic.
He was under siege and he was stopping everything. I thought he played out of his mind, especially during the win and then that game in overtime. Thought he was spectacular. But I'm having fun. I'm really looking forward to the home game. See how the fans respond. See how the team responds to the fans, and see what happens when they actually have some full-time practices and not these half practices because they're traveling so much. It'll be fun.
I think I'm really looking forward to seeing video of the opening nonsense that happens a lot what happened in Vegas. I think that this is a really excited fan base, and I think the community around it has been obvious in terms of, even though they're on this long road trip. I don't know the players. Showing up. Yeah, they have. I don't know the players yet, but I know the game fairly well. I grew up in a hockey city or a hockey town, and went to a lot of minor league hockey growing up, and so I love watching hockey. I love watching playoff hockey. I hope that we can get there. I look forward to learning this team. I'm still holding out hope that the basketball comes in. I want the Sonics back, but this is actually a pretty reasonable substitute.
I think it's super fun. The season is so young, and Alana, you say you're still getting to know who these players are and everything like that. I think that's also true of the coaching staff on this team. Even today they were experimenting with new players online, see what the chemistry is. They just got back one of their best players from an injury, and that'll be really exciting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to more Kraken, and hopefully we start winning some games as the season goes on. And the Golden Knights, they were able to do something in their first season. It's a little bit different with this team, but it would be really cool if we can at least be in it.
I just checked, and in the Pacific Division, we're fourth, and the Golden Knights are sixth.
Yeah, the Golden Knights are not playing as well as everybody thought they would be playing this season.
Right.
But again,
young.
The season is young. This is like, if in the NFL you played one game or two games and you're like 1-1 or something like that. There's a lot that can go on, and there's trades that can happen in free agency. We have no idea what's going to be happening over the next few months.
The Pacific is equivalent to the NFL East or NFC East, just for context's sake. It is a shit division.
Which is why, the analysts were saying we got an expansion team, but they can be competitive in this division.
Right. It's because all the other teams suck too.
Right.
So.
Right. So that good for us. I would rather the Kraken play in that than the Seahawks playing in the NFC West right now.
Right.
Can the Seahawks go play in this Pacific division?
Yeah, they should. I want to see that. That should be a pay-per-view game.
I'm not sure if Jamal Adams has the
Kraken.
skill set to like intercept the puck, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. I want to see Russell Wilson on the ice there with his bum. I think it'll be fun. Before we get into our dorking out about only murders in the building, I do just want to touch on a little bit our coach from WSU getting fired because he refused to get a vaccine. Which, like, here's the thing. It's even like getting beyond the fact that, we're talking about like a coach being surrounded by a huge staff and these, children and, these college kids and everything, exposing them all to a potential infection. This is millions of dollars that you're just like flushing down the toilet. You were like the highest paid state employee in Washington State, and you're just giving that all up for a stupid stand?
Well, and the thing that gets me about this all is he is a non-religious man. He is largely apolitical. He is taking a stance for what reason? And he's using a religious exemption when he doesn't belong to a church. He is like, it's mind-blowing to me. Why are you taking this stand? And it seems to me like he's trying to curry favor with the people who live in that part of the state by being this like rebel outlaw type of thing. But the other thing that it says to me is we really need to re-examine our values as a country because, some asshole just got fired for not getting vaccinated who was the highest paid public employee at Washington State University. And this is true in every single state. And it is representative of our values. Don't get me wrong. It is true across the board that we value sports above, we value models of war above everything else. And that needs to change. And I think that this is actually a good time to have that conversation. Like, we just excised this bill or this salary from our state ledger. How else can we use that money? Let's have that conversation.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like the only person who was surprised he got fired is him. I mean,
he just peaced out.
It was this weird game of
Don't
chicken.
understand it.
This weird game of chicken that was being played that was sort of like, no, we're really serious. You're going to be subject to the same thing that everyone else in this state is being subject to. And you're going to be subject to what people across this country are being subject to when, for whatever reason, your employer says, we're now going to actually mandate this.
Yeah.
We are one of the few states that does not allow regular testing as an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I mean, them's the rules. Like, this was the deal, and you knew this was the deal, and you made a choice, and you have to go find another job.
The other thing that's kind of appalling about this is that, like, at college, for students and staff and admin, you have to prove all the other vaccines. Why is this different? Why is this different? To get that job, you had to prove all your other vaccines anyway.
It's beyond dumb to me. It's beyond stupidity. Yeah, exactly. This is I don't like to venture into political sensitive subjects, but fuck it, it's unavoidable at this point in time.
I know.
It's just like the anti-vax thing. And I don't even want to say that the anti-vax thing is this right-wing situation, because my wife is from Oregon and we have tons of family and friends down there. And so I know vicariously through them that there's a lot of lefto hippie anti-government people down there that don't want the freaking vaccine either. So I don't even want to get into this like it's a bunch of Trumpsters sort of bullshit. It's not. It's a bunch of fucking paranoid idiots
Mhm.
that just think that like the government is putting fucking chips in these things. And so it's like, fine, you could choose not to get the vaccine and you could choose not to vaccine your kids. And, schools can decide that your kid isn't going to go to this school and businesses can decide that like, no, you're not going to have this job because it's our policy for everybody to be vaccinated. And
then you have to reap the
Rollovich
consequences
was an
of your choices.
employee of the state of Washington that made this decision.
Right.
And so this whole stupid game of chicken, it's just the weirdest freaking hill to die on.
I don't
It's this weird
millions of dollars.
It's this weird liberty porn that comes about every once in a while or a lot. And like, it's the same people who are saying I should not have to do this or this should not be allowed to be mandated are saying that the person who made refused to make a cake for the gay people in
Yes.
Colorado should be allowed to discriminate against his business. So like, it's fascinating to me the cognitive dissonance and the twisting and knots that people have to justify wanting to say fuck you to the government. Like that's all they want. They just want to be like, fuck you, don't tell me what to do. I don't think it's about anything more than that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, good. I'm glad we're living in the dumbest timeline.
And we still have Ken Norton Jr. as like the defensive coordinator.
Damn it.
If it were the dumbest timeline.
Why was Benson Mayowa in pass coverage?
If it were the dumbest timeline, then only murders in the building wouldn't exist.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's a great segue, and thank you for keeping us on schedule. So we promised you we would talk about Only Murders in the Building. Only Murders in the Building had its season finale, and just for those of you listening who haven't seen maybe the last few episodes of Only Murders in the Building, don't worry, we're not going to spoil it for you. But we all watched it, and I at least I was pleasantly surprised by this TV show. This is one of my favorite TV shows that I've seen this year. I gave it a chance because it's written by Steve Martin. It stars Steve Martin, by the way, just for context, is my favorite comedian. He's one of my comic influences as an actor. I've loved him ever since I was a tiny little child. And he's, in the past 20 years, has kind of just sort of flirted with acting. He's kind of been doing his other thing, his music and things like that. So when he was kind of making a return to the screen and to writing and stuff like that, I was very excited. Martin Short, another just fantastic comedian of mine. I love the physical comedians. And then a murder mystery, which is also for me like one of my favorite genres, like the sort of cheesy whodunit, Knives Out, for instance. Or
Dead Man Don't Wear Plaid, if we're gonna.
Or Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
I've thought about that one a lot.
So I didn't have a ton of expectations. I really wanted to like it, and I was like really pleasantly surprised when I did. But here's the reason why. Because this show changes every episode. Like it kind of gets deeper and it becomes a different show. So like the murder mystery itself, where it gets deeper and deeper, and the story kind of like changes as you find out how deep the rabbit hole goes. The show itself as a genre kind of does that as well, and that's what really fascinated me. I think it's a brilliantly written show, and I think Steve Martin and Martin Short and
Selena
Gomez, who is keeping up with the both of them. Steve Martin and Martin Short are giving clinics, and Selena Gomez is matching it, and I just love it. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Alana.
I really want to touch base on the varying genre that this has. I think that in every episode we have the backbone of this murder mystery, and the backbone of there being kind of like
the trio characters.
Right, and the podcast vibe of the whole thing. But in each episode, they play with something different, and they use the like New York stories at the start of the episode, where it's a voiceover monologue from somebody who's involved in the show to introduce what that other piece is going to be. And then specifically, I want to talk a little bit about The Man in 6B, which is the 7th episode, which features the story of a character, it's Teddy Demas's son, who is deaf. And
the boy, it's the boy.
Sorry, the boy in 6B. We learn a lot of things in that episode. There is so much physical comedy. There are so many bits and pieces to that episode, and it's all silent. And it's told through this, that silence isn't a gimmick. It feels like it could be at the start, but because we have the perspective of a deaf person centered, we get this just magical episode that has all the slapstick that is true of like a Rumors or a Noises Off, the slamming doors slapstick. But we also get this really human, kind of touching story about somebody who lives in a world that doesn't recognize the way he communicates. And a
character that we really didn't know before that episode too. Yeah.
We had seen bits and pieces of him. And it does that in every single episode. It tunes the episode around its central focus character. I was deeply impressed by Selena Gomez. I was also really impressed by the guy who plays I forgot his name. The hoodie, the tie-dye hoodie guy.
Oscar.
Oscar, thank you. Yes. I thought his performance was excellent. And I also thought this was a limited series, but there's going to be a season 2.
There is going to be a season 2.
I'm jacked about that. So
I am as well. Touching. Oh, go ahead.
All in all, it was a really vibrant watch for me, and I'm super glad I got to see it.
And I will say, if you did you actually mention that James Caverly, who plays Theo, is in fact a deaf actor?
Yes,
that's right.
He is.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I didn't mention that, but I'm very glad you brought that up. And I want to make sure that people know that if you have a deaf character, you should cast a deaf actor. If you have a trans character, you should cast a trans actor. If you have a black character, you should cast a black actor. And this should not be controversial. This should be understood. And you shouldn't, I want to show my kid Drop Dead Gorgeous, but then I realized that one of the characters in that is playing somebody with a developmental disability who is not developmentally disabled themselves. And it is a very mocking performance.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Curtis, you just binged it.
Yes.
You were unfamiliar with it before this week, and then you watched the entire thing. I want your thoughts.
Oh my God. Well, I was a little nervous going in because I still I feel like I kind of needed a little bit more distance from the whole Ted Lasso thing that I was hooked into. So it took me a couple episodes, and it was the sight gag of a cat. We'll just put it there. Like when that happened, I was snort laughing.
Yeah.
And to the point of almost, and then there's another sight gag, and it's just, I'm such a product of the 80s. Like it's just, when I was in the 80s, that was junior high and high school for me. I'm an old fart. And so as I was speaking earlier before recording, Steve Martin and Martin Short and so many of the people involved with SNL and SCTV were just total. They, like you were saying, how you've modeled yourself after Steve Martin as a comedic actor. I mean, I've pulled from so many of those different just masters at comedy. I mean, Steve Martin is a master at physical comedy, just hands down. And my favorite Steve Martin is when he is afforded the ability to be more of the straight man in comedies, because I think he's really fucking good at it. Like he is like he is probably between him and Bob Newhart are probably my two favorite comedic straight men, because they can be so freaking funny just delivering a
with the deadpan.
And Martin can do it with just the right amount of just subtle sort of clowniness. Like he does subtle so loud. It's like, it's just so impressive to watch it. And he's, like as a writer, he loves the sight gags. He loves the physical comedy, and being paired up with Martin Short, who I think is just like a comedic force of nature. Like he can go from like 0 to 11 like that. And then just pull it right back down. And he does that frequently in this show. And you want to say like, oh, that's cheating and that's too much and stuff. But no, I don't think it is. I think that's a master.
Martin Short has a good job of reining him in at just the right moments. Because Martin Short is one of those actors for me that I feel like if he doesn't have the strong director or the strong voices in the room that he's willing to listen to, and this is just a guess based on other actors that I actually know in life and how people behave, but I assume he's like this, he'll just keep going. He has to have those people who say, that was funny, let's do it again, but let's end it there. Like you can't, the ad lib is funny, but it doesn't work. Like, and trusting them enough that he would rein that character back in, because there was 1 or 2 moments maybe in the whole series where I was like, oh no, and it was early too. So, they're still figuring some stuff out with their own characters, but it got shut down almost immediately. So it didn't become Martin Short.
I think I was actually really impressed.
Well, he can do that as well. And they both were reined in just the right moment to keep me from going, oh yeah, it's Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Yes, it was an understated performance by both of them. It was honest and silly at the same time. And Martin Short had these just brilliant moments of these throwaway reactions that just made me cackle out loud. I thought
the dips, just the dips.
He's such an id. He's got such a strong id.
He's just a walking id.
I just want to circle back real quick and just promote. This is a 3-hander. This is not the Martin Short, Steve Martin show. This is the Martin Short
with
Steve
Selena
Martin,
Gomez.
Selena Gomez. She
I was about to get to her. Yeah.
Holds up, and it is the third piece of the tripod. She gives a great performance.
And really grounds both Martin and Short.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And she is so droll, so dry. Her comic delivery is brilliant. Go ahead, Millie.
We get there in episode 1. She shows up in this amazing yellow jacket, and you're already like, oh, all right.
Hey, girl.
This. And they all end up in this diner. And this is what brings these 3 people who live in the same building and see each other, but don't know each other or whatever, or try to avoid each other, depending on the relationship that you're looking at. And they end up all talking because they listen to the same true crime podcast. And it creates this absolutely believable moment where people can bond completely over a shared interest. And it catapults them, because in this moment, this murder has happened. And we don't know anything about Tim Kono yet. We don't know what his relationship may or may not be to the other people in this building. But we absolutely believe that somehow these 3 people in this moment can move forward the way they do. And I will say the other reason that this show spoke to me so quickly, because I'm usually a 3 burn type. I need 3 episodes to make a decision on how I feel. The reason episode 1 got me so much, I think, was because when I watched it, we were just starting this Dorks on Sports podcast. And the fact that these 3 are, they're all into a podcast and it's the same one. And then they decide to record a podcast as part of this. And that bonding that happened for this group in us trying to bring this together, I felt that realness in watching the show. So it immediately endeared me to the idea that these people could come together and want to do this thing together. who in any other circumstance would have just continued to ignore or avoid each other in this building.
Agreed. And I think that shared interest too, bonding over that shared interest, is one of the things that I really love about sports. I think back on those Seahawks Super Bowl runs and just like how excited the city got, and you're standing in line at Starbucks waiting for your coffee and you're wearing your Marshawn Lynch jersey and strangers are coming up to you and you're just talking and having a, when I was in Vegas wearing a Kraken jersey and walking through the casino, I got the same thing, not just from Seattle fans, but the Vegas fans and other NHL fans as well. I just, it's really nice being able to just sort of bond with another person over a shared interest when you might not have anything else in common.
Only Murders in the Building also has some truly delightful cameos.
Yes,
it really does.
That
which
they
I
really
don't want to
weave
spoil.
into the story.
Yeah.
And make those characters make sense showing up.
Totally.
Yes, residents of the building, podcast
Other people,
hosts,
other podcasters,
late night TV shows,
fans.
I mean, it's just a delight. It is
a delight, and I recommend it
in
to anybody who's listening. Go watch Only Murders in the Building. It's on Hulu. It's a delight, and it's getting a second season, so that'll be fun. Anyway, my name is Daniel. By the way, hit the subscribe button. You should go to Curtis's blog, 12th Life, if you want a Seahawks breakdown. I really recommend it. Curtis knows what he's talking about, and he has some very thoughtful things to say. We're here every Wednesday. Yeah, my name is Daniel. For Alana, Curtis, Millie, and the rest of the 12s, say good night and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.